good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to, uh, this. Did security breach just reveal Henry Emily's fate? Honestly, being told, given this title, and being told about this literal, video is I can't put it into words. Like, the words honestly leave me because being told basically that like he is still around, like he's actually still around, is baffling. I just am surprised by like the fact that it's discussed like this because wow, I just uh what I just I just can't comprehend it. Okay, it just leaves me completely baffled on how such a thing is possible at the jeez. Um, but yeah, honestly, this is something that's a bit hard to swallow, considering the fact that he pretty much got himself killed at this in the process of trying to kill William. At least that's what it just seems like to me. But yeah. Uh Back to the main point though. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you do, hit the like button below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when the video comes out. And yeah, I think that's it. Um, but yeah, just like the video if you enjoyed the reaction video. Subscribe and hit the notification button to support the channel and all that. If you have any videos you'd like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. And other than that, the link to this video is going to be down in the description below, so be sure to give love and support to. Sorry for the small pause. Just I, I don't know. I thought something. Never mind. Anyway, give some love and support for Twisted Animatronic for making this video and all that. Uh, I do enjoy his content, so yeah, be sure to do that. They did a lot of work and effort just to make these types of videos, so just give them some love and support for the hard work they've done. And yeah, with this all said, let's start this video, shall we? Okay, just what happened to Henry Emily?
Hello everyone, Twisted Animatronic here. Now, love it or hate it, Five Nights at Freddy's security breach brought us so much lore, such as the Mimic, Glam Rock Freddy, neon lights, but it also brought something else. And that something is answers to a question several years in the making. And of all the places to answer this question, they brought it in security breach. And what is it, you ask? Well, is Henry Emily actually dead? And I know, how could security breach solve that? Well, believe me, this theory not only has evidence to suggest he could still be alive, but also what the wound first inflicted upon him was. You see, if you remember in Pizzeria Simulator, Henry monologues at the very end how he let a wound that was first inflicted on him bleed out. Now, originally, everyone believed that the wound first inflicted on Henry was his daughter Charlie, right? Would make sense, but that actually might not be true, but I'll cover that later. You see, the way Scott Cawthon works, who's obviously the founder of the franchise, he makes a game with all this lore, which has so many questions, and then he answers these questions and lore in the next game. You know, like he did with FNAF 1, FNAF 2, FNAF 3. He even confirmed he answers questions from previous games in the next game. And it just so happens Pizzeria Simulator was the mainline game set before Security Breach. Sure, you can count Help Wanted, but that's more spin-off because it's a VR title. And I won't even get into the mobile game because, again, there's not really much lore there. So in essence, Security Breach was supposed to...
I don't know about that one. To be honest, the whole security for the mobile game, it more or less just gives us a bit more information when it comes to what was happening in VR and what was happening between VR and Security Breach because of the messages that was given and the fact that there was a letter sent to Ness, which is basically Vanessa. So yeah, honestly, it's not a worthless one. Uh, like if some people say it's not a worthwhile game, it does have its lore, but it's not a lot of lore, mind you. At least in my personal opinion. But it's still an enjoyable game if you like it.
Answer all our questions we had about Pizzeria Simulator and the lore set before, right? Well, in a nutshell, that didn't really happen. It actually gave us more questions and confusion than it did solve anything else. But one thing it did try and do is solve the mystery of Henry Emily. And this is where things start to get interesting here. You see, we know Henry Emily was the business partner to William Afton, right? The founders of Fazbear Entertainment, the restaurants, everything. We know due to FNAF 1 because of the newspaper clippings on the wall that someone used a mascot costume. That person was William Afton. They committed a string of murders. The police eventually found the suspect, held him in custody, but wasn't charged. That person, clearly William Afton, and Henry Emily would have known this. And not only that, we're forgetting Henry Emily had his daughter literally murdered in cold blood by William Afton. Sure, he wasn't charged, but you're telling me Henry Emily wouldn't have had his suspicions that it was William? Of course he knew. Hence why, over all these years, he enacts this plan to bring all the animatronics, William himself, to the FNAF 6 pizzeria and bump them all off, mainly killing Afton for revenge, but also about healing this wound first inflicted upon himself, which everyone says was his daughter's death, right? And I know you're probably thinking, well, what has this got to do with Security Breach and him still being alive? Well, believe me, you need all this context to form a full picture, and then I'll get into Security Breach. You see, given that William and Henry were running multiple businesses, they must have had multiple people on the board of directors, right? But despite no evidence that William had committed any murders or crime, that stigma would still hold over him, and the board wouldn't want a potential criminal running the business, right? So he was forced to resign as CEO, because obviously it would taint Fazbear Entertainment's reputation, as if it wasn't already tainted enough. Again, all
I
this
mean, not
reinforces
wrong.
Henry's suspicion. Even the mascot costume used was a Spring Bonnie costume, William's favorite, the one he did as an alter ego with Henry, when Henry did the Golden Freddy costume. Well, as it was called then, Golden Fredbear. These events directly lead into Henry creating the security puppet. Then we know what happens there. Charlie gets murdered, her soul goes into the puppet, William is hired as the new security guard there, murdered more children, which explains the badge we see on him, the security badge with his purple shirt in the Save Me
True.
minigame. And in conclusion, whether Charlie was first or last, we know the Graves in Help Wanted 2 show us that Charlie was last in the death order, explaining why Henry would have created the puppet first. He was trying to protect all the other children from William, because he knew, obviously Charlie dies, but in conclusion, the wound that was first inflicted on Henry wasn't Charlie's murder, because that wasn't the first wound. The first wound was the betrayal of his partnership and friendship with William. And then this leads into Pizzeria Simulator, a combination of his daughter's
Oh.
death, the betrayal by his business partner and best friend. He wants revenge. That's what Pizzeria
Oh. Okay, I get that bit now. So basically, since Charlie's death is technically the last one of the missing children in general, well, technically of the 6 or so animatronics that has the possessed soul of someone that William killed. No, wait, yeah, 6. 6. Okay, yeah, 6. Anyway, I thought 7 for some reason. But no, no. Main point though. So basically, the thing that's going on here is the fact that not William, Henry wants his pound of flesh, so to speak, and a lot. And the first wound is probably related to this, like the betrayal of his friendship with William, which makes sense. But I wonder if it is like the missing children stuff. What happens if it's actually before that and it's related to the mimic? Because that would also make sense, would it not? Yeah, that seems about right. Because there was the fall festival, Maybe something happened there and it made Henry have a wound that William caused and thinks that William made. But it could also be the same thing that that's a bit confusing. Honestly, it leads to so much, yet there's no solid piece of evidence to for sure say what really happened until we get like Secrets of the Mimic at the very least.
Pizzeria Simulator was all about. Regardless whether Charlie was first or last, that Pizzeria Simulator was about revenge. And that's what happened.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, he gets his revenge and then bops himself off. Literally, decides he's going to burn himself alive inside this Pizzeria Simulator. Not seeing his plan through, how would he know William wouldn't have survived? I mean, he survived a fire before, right? The FNAF 3 fire. So why would William all of a sudden just decide he's going to off himself in this pizzeria, not being
Henry.
100% sure that his life goal isn't going to be obtained? I mean, he would have been working on this for decades. That just doesn't make sense at all. And key, security breach. We know in Five Nights at Freddy's security breach, in one of the endings, we can go down to the old FNAF 6 pizzeria, right? And it confirms to us that it did potentially burn down. We literally have the burning room where we burn Trap, right? You know, all the burners, everything is all there. We even use them to burn Trap. But there's something amiss here. The Pizzeria Simulator location, FNAF 6, in the sinkhole, doesn't look burned down to me. In fact, it just looks abandoned. There's no sign of any fire at all. Sure, you could say the burn trap ending in Security Breach isn't canon, but we still visit this location in the canon in Ruin. We go there with Cassie, remember? And the same thing happens there. There's no sign of any type of fire which has burned down the entirety of the building. Now, but what we could say is that all the animatronics which Henry wanted to lure to the pizzeria in FNAF 6 was lured into that one room, along with...
I mean, he's not wrong. It is kind of strange how that actually went down, but actually, I'm gonna let him
William,
keep
and he
talking.
sets them alight in that one room. You know, the room which we set burn trap alight. That could be a possibility, but then that doesn't make sense because the ending of FNAF 6, where Henry's speaking to us, shows the entirety of the Pizzaplex burning down. I mean, in FNAF 6, we're literally in the manager's office when Henry's speaking to us, saying how there was a way out plan for us, but he doesn't believe we won that. So we're literally going to stay there and be burned like a crispy chicken wing in an oven. Something isn't adding up. Either A, the pizzeria in FNAF 6 didn't burn down at all, or they only used that one room to burn every single animatronic. And if that's the case, surely there'd be some remnants of all these animatronics they've burned? Well, this is where things get even more interesting because, again, as I said at the start of the video, Security Breach is answering that question. And as we know, there is something down there. Something which is canon from the Burn Trap ending and appears in Ruin, and is the amalgamation of all the animatronics together. That's right, the Blob. Or we can use its official name, Tangle. You see, whether or not you believe the Burn Trap ending to be
Really,
canon
that's
is
its name.
irrelevant because in Ruin, during one...
I did not know the Blob's thing was actually Tangled. That honestly is a bit new to me, but that's an interesting thing to find out. So cool. I learned something new today. That's pretty nice, I guess.
one of the first moments of the playthrough, you literally see the Blob scurrying his way through the Pizzaplex, therefore making it canon. This Blob is obviously an amalgamation of all the burned animatronics from FNAF 6, and it's quite obvious that the entirety of that FNAF 6 pizzeria didn't burn down because we literally see it in ruin, not burned down, telling us that they burned all the animatronics in that one room, the burner room, and this is the remnants of what's left. The Blob itself is even black and charred, as if it's been burned, right? A literal black and burned charred mess, like me again getting the chicken wings out of the oven. All of this, to me, proves that the pizzeria did not burn down with Henry Emily inside of it. Now, sure, you could say that he didn't burn himself alive. He could have found other ways to off himself, right? But then that's just us theorizing and not using any evidence at all. The game is telling us that Henry hasn't offed himself by the fire like everyone would have thought. And not only that, if he did, right? I mean, if he did miraculously off himself in the Pizzeria Simulator, wouldn't he then be infused with the tangle? Whether he burnt himself or whether he died there anyway, wouldn't his energy and remnant or anguish, agony be infused with the Blob? That's how it works, right? That's what the FNAF franchise has told us. So surely he would be in the Blob too if he did off off himself. I mean, his dialogue is cryptic, but he doesn't necessarily say he's going to off himself. Listen to it in its entirety.
Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
Sure, if you are on the edge and, you want to off yourself in that building as Mike, you could take that as he's doing the same thing. But for him, he could literally be remaining nearby, yeah, sure, to make sure nothing crawls out of the rubble. And if it doesn't, then it ends. It ends for Mike, and it ends for Henry. This ends for all of us, but it ends for Henry in a different way. You see, the pizzeria didn't burn down. That's evident in FNAF Ruin. It's told us this. It hasn't burnt down. And it hasn't ended for any of them because they're still alive in the blob. So if they did burn in that one room, like I said earlier, they're still there. It hasn't ended. Security breach, as I said earlier, even Ruin is answering the question we had for many years. Henry is indeed still alive. And I know a lot of old fans of the series probably won't accept this, but the evidence in front of us, in Security Breach and Ruin, whether you love it or hate it, is canon and is showing us this. It's telling us that story. The blob is proof enough that they haven't moved on, it hasn't ended, and the FNAF 6 pizzeria still being unburned is enough for me as well. But with that logic, surely you could say that Mike was still alive. I mean, if they were burned in that one room, the burner room, then Mike wouldn't have burned either. We know Mike in himself to be supernatural because he was injected with remnant in sister location, when he got scooped and Ennard went inside of him, hence how he's still a walking corpse in Pizzeria Simulator. It's also shown to us that fire hasn't moved these spirits on because the tangle exists, and not only that, we have other mysteries? We have other mysteries in Security Breach. Mike's room. An entire recreation of Mike's room, hinting that Mike could potentially be there. And not only that, in Ruin's ending, we literally hear Gregory say to Cassie about him following somebody's instruction.
Just follow instructions.
Someone who knows the building plans inside out. It kind of gets cut out with static, but you kind of hear a one-syllable word which could either be Mike's instruction or his instruction. Either way, his could be taken as Glamrock Freddy, Henry, or Mike. But there's one whole spanner.
I mean, okay, I guess you could make that assumption, but at the same time, if we're going to say that, then we have to also consider the assumption that, well, it could be Vanessa's instructions, because she worked there and she knows what's going on. I mean, she was possessed by Glitch Trap, so technically she would technically know what's going on at the very least, right? Right. So yeah, there's that.
In this entire works, and you've probably thought it already. What if that location in Security Breach we see beneath the Pizzaplex isn't the FNAF 6 location? If that was the case, and it wasn't the location, then that throws this entire thing out the window. But I'm just going to say here, the building plan is exactly the same. The rooms, the doors, the layout itself is 100% the exact same. And not to mention, it has Tangle there, the amalgamation of all the old animatronics, which was not present at any other location. We see Funtime Freddy's mask in the blob. That would have only gotten in the blob from Molten Freddy, which was lured to the FNAF 6 location, the only one in existence. To me, them two attributes are proof alone that that is exactly the same location. Sure, you could argue that other Pizzeria Simulator locations would have the same layout, right? But they would not have that one-of-a-kind Molten Freddy animatronic. What is extremely interesting, though, is that there's recharge stations down there. Now, obviously, they would not be present in FNAF 6. These are recharge stations for the new Endos, the Glamrocks. Why were they in the FNAF 6 location? Well, believe it or not, I have an answer to that as well, and I covered it in far more detail in last week's video. And not only that, the graphic following Henry's magnificent speech at the end literally shows Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. Exactly the same name as we see going into that underground location in Security Breach. These are the only locations in the entirety of the franchise to be under that name, and shown to us as directly as it was shown to us. Whichever way you look at it, the evidence clearly suggests that Henry is still alive, whether in his original human form or the blob is another matter, but I believe he's still out there in his original form. Not entangled with the blob, pun intended, but as himself, he knows it hasn't ended for him or for anyone else. But what do you think? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe. It really does help me out and means so much to me. And that you've watched to the very end, so thank you. A massive thanks to my good friend Logan, who's on screen now. He sent me some of this to talk about in a video, so thank you very much, Logan. And
Let's
if you
see.
want to see me talk about a specific topic or theory, tell me in the comments or send me an email. Massive thanks to my YouTube members who are on screen now. Couldn't do it without you guys and your support. With an extra special mention to Lauren and Penguin Lover 12 and our newest member, Rena Fox. You guys are absolutely awesome security guards, and I hope you have an uneventful shift. As always, I'm Twisted Animatronic, and stay safe out there, superstars.
Okay, so that's an interesting theory, to say the least. The fact that Henry Emily might be alive, and with all the information given, it might be possible, but at the same time, there's evidence and things that could actually conflict with the evidence that was said. Like, why was there modern charging stations for animatronics? Well, we can use this thing that Vanessa needed to gain access to down there. Remember, she was possessed by, well, Glitchtrap, who might technically be like the, well, not William, that's for sure. Well, that's what people say. That William wasn't the one controlling Glitchtrap, but it was actually the Mimic. That's a bit confusing as frick, not gonna lie. But you get the point. Basically, someone was controlling Vanessa using Glitchtrap. They probably had her go down there to get whatever was below the pizzeria. So, yeah, it would make sense if that's the case. So, what does that mean now? I'll have to get back to you on that. But it does mean that the idea that Henry was involved with that isn't really fully there. If he's a part of the blob, and it is a very strong if, then it does lead to some pieces of information and details that would make sense, but also at the same time it wouldn't. Because it just sounds a bit too conflicting. Because that would mean you're saying that he somehow didn't die. He merged with the wow, I just heard its name to begin with, and I just forgot it. Well, I'll still call it the Blob for the moment. Basically, they're saying that he's saying that the Blob and Henry fused, like the agony of like every other animatronic from way back then, and through the items that it gathered. Okay, interesting, cool. That sounds like it could be on point, but it's hard to say that for sure, considering the fact that, while it could be true, there could be something that proves it otherwise. But then again, I wouldn't know for sure, because again, well, yeah, basically, there's not really a lot to say on that bit. But the wound thing is actually pretty interesting to hear, because that would mean that maybe it is something that happened before, like before the murders and before the like even even actually, maybe it's before even the first incident, where it's basically the betrayal of something that happened, like, and at this fall festival, and they probably blamed the other for what was happening on that day. But again, not a lot of information on that bit, since we're gonna have to wait for the secrets of the mimic. So yeah, that's a bit of a buzzkill, but it is what it is. But other than that, yeah, it is an interesting thought process to think about when it comes to Henry Emily. It does lead to some wandering thoughts, but until like we get something about the secrets of the mimic, I feel like there's still some stuff that still needs to be gathered before we even come to the conclusion that Henry Emily is still alive. If it's through the blob, okay, that kind of that makes sense. I mean, he has a deep sense of hatred towards William, so it would make sense that he's somehow alive in the blob. But until we get some more evidence and proof that he's probably still around, there's not much else to say on the matter. So with this said, again, hope you all enjoy. If you did, hit the like button below, hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when a video comes out. And if there's any videos like to recommend, then put it down in the comment section below. And tell me what your thoughts on this theory. Because it's an interesting theory, and it does really get the some ideas throwing. It gets ideas. What's the proper phrase? It just gets the gears turning, basically. And yeah, other than that, tell me what you think, and be sure to give Twisted Animatronic some love and support for the video that they made. Honestly, this is really an interesting theory that they made, and it does really get me thinking about what is going on here. So yeah, again, with this all said, hope you all enjoy, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.